Thank you. And this event will be shared to everyone who's joined us today after the event, along with all the event slides and resources, but also will be shared with all providers. So if you want to disseminate it to people within your organisation who couldn't attend, please do. It is there for that purpose. Next slide, please. So what do we hope that you will get out of today? Well, it's an introduction to both the team at the Department for Education and the Association of Colleges that you're going to be working really, really closely with. The nice thing about this project for me has been the way that we have really worked very closely with the Department for Education. We do lots of round tables that are extremely responsive, and I'm not saying that just because we're on the call there, Tarifa and Sam. We do an awful lot of work, and you will be invited to a lot of round tables because we want your feedback. We have been on a T-level journey, and industry placements are part of that journey, and how they land and how they are actively, the policy lands onto the ground is only done by yourselves. And so we want to hear that feedback and the challenges that you might face. Possibly wave 1 and 2 providers will have had those challenges before, and hopefully there's lots of lessons learned. And you'll get the opportunity to come to amazing events such as the National Learning event in Midland Hotel, Manchester, where every single T-level provider in the country, for the first time ever, will be in the same room at the same time, all those strategic leads. So all that learning from wave 1 and 2 providers, we are taking on board and we are refining our work, and Tabitha and Sam and the rest of the team are very keen to hear your feedback. So lots of work will take place. You're going to see them lots and lots. You'll see lots and lots of your AoC advisor team all come with lots of background knowledge and experience to help you, and can share examples, as I say, potentially of providers, very similar providers who have faced challenges before, and workarounds with that. You'll also hear about the support and the opportunities available, so events, webinars, resources from the team members and how you can access them, but also those key dates that you need to put in your diary now, because we know how busy you are. You'll also get an instruction about the advisor that you will have personally assigned to you, who's available 5 days a week to support you on that journey. Next slide, please. Without further ado, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand over to Sam Nevin from the Department for Education to give a policy team introduction. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you very much. So, hi everyone. It's really good to be here and just give a bit of background on sort of the work that we've been doing around industry placements, and just generally give you a bit more information on how industry placements and T-levels fit within what you're delivering. So I suppose if we go to the next slide, please, or first slide. There we go. So a bit of a background to the reforms to start off with. So I think it's quite important to just give us a bit of a reminder as to where T-levels sort of fit into the context of the wider technical education reform. So they're a part of a comprehensive long-term reform strategy that is designed to sort of revolutionise the technical education landscape. I suppose the big question is, why are we reforming technical education? And it's kind of one of those things where the UK has performed quite poorly in terms of productivity compared to other G7 countries. And comparisons suggest it is the differences in skill levels that drive this underperformance. So we had an independent panel on technical education, which was chaired by Lord Sainsbury. And this was set up to review technical education and make recommendations on how that could be improved. And then in July 2016, we published the post-16 skills plan, and that confirmed our acceptance of all the Sainsbury panel recommendations. As you can see from the bullet points on the slide, you can see a summary of the recommendations on the screen. So the first of these was a common framework of 15 technical education routes. These encompass all employment-based and college-based training. So the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education has published this common framework by documenting all the skilled occupations that can be achieved through an apprenticeship or a T-level. The second key recommendation was to develop a new flagship technical education programme. So the first of these new T-levels started in September 2020, and more have sort of rolled out. So we rolled out 2020 and then 2021, and obviously 2022 as well. So we will have full rollout by 2024. So that's where we sort of perceive to achieve steady state with all T-levels being delivered. Although we have started small, the pace of the rollout has been extremely fast, as I'm sure Tabitha probably can imagine as well. We can both sort of it has been quite a difficult few years, and it has been a lot faster rollout than we ever imagined. In 2020, so there were around 1,300 students who were enrolled on one of the first 3 T levels, but by 2024 we estimate 100,000. So in the space of 4 years, that is quite a large jump in the number of students that we expect to be studying a T level, and obviously each one of them is going to have to require an industry placement opportunity. Next slide, please, Abby. So this gives a bit of sort of breakdown on the sort of 3 education and training options which are post GCSE. So obviously the sort of 2 that we've always sort of known for a good while now is A levels and then the apprenticeships, and now as sort of T levels has come into play with that. So the overall aim is we're not looking to add a new qualification to an already complex system, but we're sort of looking to simplify that qualification landscape and to look at making progression routes through the levels much clearer to navigate. This sort of slide shows what the post-16 education landscape will look like. So following successful completion of a T level, there will be sort of clear progression paths to higher education, skilled employment, or higher technical education, either via apprenticeships or higher technical qualifications. This will sort of replace the complex and crowded technical qualification environment we currently have with sort of H&Ds, BTECs, for example. And although we certainly are not intending to withdraw all of these options from the landscape, there is an expectation that T levels will replace many of them. And this was the 3rd key recommendation that we had from the Sainsbury review. So T levels are designed by reference to the world's best technical education systems. They have longer hours than other qualifications, a meaningful industry placement, and the inclusion of English, maths, and digital elements as well. And it is deliberate that we have called them T levels to create parity with the already well-established A-level pathway. In contrast to previous reforms, we have directly involved employers in the development of T levels, and they are setting out the sort of knowledge and skills required for each occupational area. So the resulting circumstance of this is T levels are basically for employers, and they are made by employers as well. Employers told us what they wanted students to leave with strong employability skills and a good level of knowledge and understanding of the subject area before they come into that skilled employment area. And that is why 20% of a student's time is assigned to the industry placement, which is what I will go on to talk about on the next slide. Thank you. So a bit more detail into what industry placements actually are. Obviously, it's quite a specific term. So they are for 16 to 19-year-old students who are in full-time education on a T level, and this time will be spent in an organisation, learning and working. I think it's quite important to state that it's in a real-life working environment, and it gives the student an opportunity to work with an employer and make a meaningful contribution to the organisation. So this is sort of a two-way engagement, and it's not just focused on what the student gains. It recognises that the employer can actually gain from the experience of taking on industry placement too. And that hope will be that employers in the future will then look to offer more T levels from seeing that benefit. In terms of hours/days, so an industry placement is a minimum of 315 hours, and that approximately equates to around 45 working days. And we expect this to be delivered in person. Our focus is on students' practical and technical skills. So this includes employability skills that employers have told us over and over again are key. The behaviours and attitudes young people present from the outset and what they learn as they progress through their placement and programme of study. And then in terms of how industry placements can work in terms of weeks and days, so placements can take different forms, which is often based on a balance of sort of curriculum planning and also what the needs of the employer are and how the sector sort of works, because we understand that each sector has a different way of working. So it could be delivered via one single block, day release, or a mix of the two. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a little bit more about what an industry placement should offer. So the key line for us that has always been there since day one of sort of setting out what we want an industry placement to look like is that it is of high quality. So whenever to anything we sort of do guidance wise, it's all about maintaining the quality of an industry placement. So for example, a high quality industry placement should give a student the chance to put into practice what they've learned, give the student that credibility, and also improve their confidence, competence, and employability. For the employer, a high quality industry placement should give the employer the opportunity to develop people's skills to build their future workforce. And it's also a good opportunity for them to see it, to get a chance to see what a young person is actually capable of within their workplace and when given meaningful work to do. And then for yourselves, for the provider, a high quality industry placement should give you the opportunity to ensure that the course equips students with the right skills that employers are looking for, and equip students and make sure they're ready for the working world. Next slide, I think, please. Thank you. So in terms of industry placements, and from learning points for the last few years, so we know that one size doesn't fit all for placements. And so to mitigate this, we have sort of designed a policy which allows different approaches to be utilised for delivery. For example, this includes students able to work with 2 employers as part of their placement. This means that placement hours do not have to be delivered by one employer. So if you have a situation where an employer can only deliver a certain number of hours, the student would still be able to complete the remaining of the 315 with another employer of their choice. Placements are recorded in terms of hours rather than number of days, and that is basically just to reflect the different working practices, as we mentioned previously, that we see across different sectors. We have also allowed up to 35 hours of work taster activities to be included in the overall placement hours, and this is basically just an opportunity to give the student experience on different types of organisations, and also giving employers the opportunity to work with students for a shorter period of time to see if the fit is right. And then if they think that fit is right, then they are able to sort of commit to a full placement opportunity. We've also allowed part-time work to count as long as it is occupationally relevant and at the right level to reflect the student's personal circumstances. We introduced some specific flexibilities some route-specific flexibilities, sorry, to reflect different industries. So for example, in construction and in engineering and manufacturing, we have allowed one lead employer to facilitate the full 315-hour placement across their subcontractors or supply chain. And this is to ensure students have experience on the whole range of tasks required on projects, as there may be a scenario where they aren't able to meet some of the requirements that the student has on their objectives. And we, in terms of the work going forward, we will continue to sort of work closely with providers and employers and to identify what support they need going forward. And this is just to enable them to deliver high quality placements at scale, which includes making sure we have suitable delivery approaches to enable placements that can be delivered by employers across all industries and locations. And then if we go on to, I think, the final slide. Thank you. So on top of all the sort of the approaches that we've put in place, we have also over the last few years produced quite a lot of guidance and support materials. Some that will be quite important for yourselves. So in terms of the industry placements, delivery and student guides, there are a number of guidance documents that have been published on Gov UK, and alongside this, we've also published a provider and employer support package. So for example, the employer support package looks at sort of offering employers online guidance, case studies and workshops that help them deliver high quality industry placements, and more importantly, helps them to feel confident that they can deliver the high quality that's needed. As well as that, we've got the provider support package, which is contracted to AoC, and we're on the call today. And that is basically to help you guys ensure that placements are of high quality throughout T-level delivery. And this comprehensive support will help with sort of the plans and processes, student preparation for a placement, structuring placement and setting objectives as well. As this will also comprise of a number of seminars on relevant topics, highlighting and sharing good practice, fostering peer groups, and you will also have access to a dedicated relationship manager. And there is also, as always, a wealth of resources being developed, including guidance and practical templates that you can use to sort of help work through any challenges that you might come come up against. As well as that, we have commissioned the this is quite a long name, so the Employer Engagement and Apprenticeships Performance Service. The acronym is EAP. They were formerly known as NAS, which was the National Apprenticeship Service. So we've commissioned them to provide a referral and matching service to make it easier for employers to connect with local providers looking for placement opportunities. EAP have today engaged with over 16,000 employers, and they're also looking to secure more placement commitments from SMEs, which we know make up quite a large proportion of what we expect to be the employers involved in T-levels. We know they dominate the employment market, and therefore they can potentially offer the highest number of placement opportunities going forward. We're also working closely with our government departments as well and the wider public sector to put in place a coordinated industry placement offer. So working with such organisations as the Local Government Association and Health Education England will ensure the public sector plays its part in offering placement provision. Furthermore, we've also procured the growth partners for construction, digital and business operations, which is inclusive of the legal, finance and accounting and business and admin T-level routes, to encourage SMEs who have never engaged with T-levels before to host industry placements. And this again is to just look at growing our reach into SME markets for more challenging to source sectors. And then finally, we are engaging directly with employers of all sizes throughout England via the department's employer engagement teams. And this is again just to promote the benefits of T-levels and of hosting industry placements, as well as commissioning the T-level ambassador network, which is enabling employers to engage with others in their industries on T-levels and placements. As well as this, we do have a national comms campaign in place. So in January, we launched our Get the Jump campaign, and this helps 14 to 19-year-olds explore their education and training options going forward, and spotlights T-levels, apprenticeships, traineeships, and higher technical qualifications in particular. And our Join the Skills Revolution campaign, which aims to promote government's training and employment schemes. And once again, this sort of includes T-levels, and this is reaching out to employers across the country. And then I suppose finally, it's just worth saying it is really great to see all of you here today. Obviously from an industry placement policy team perspective, we have a lot of guidance materials, and we're working as hard as we possibly can to make sure that T-levels work going forward. And we're always just sort of an email away alongside AoC for any sort of support that may be needed in the future. And I think that's about it from us, and I will pass you back over to AoC.
Thank you so much, Sam. And as I say, we have a fantastic relationship as the Wave 1 and Wave 2 providers have with the DFE, and that's been a real advantage of the support programme. So Sam and Tabitha really do mean if you have any queries or questions, they want you to be in contact and they want to know the challenges that you face. So please do always communicate them, because if we don't know, we can't do anything about it. So thank you once again. Thanks, Sam. I'm going to hand you over now to Stephen Watterson, the Delivery Lead for T-level programmes at the Association of Colleges, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what to expect from your AoC support offer. Steve?
Thanks, Steph. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to you today. So my name's Steve Watterson. I'm the delivery lead across the T-level projects. That includes delivery lead across 3 projects. That's the T-level industry placement project, which is what this is about, but I also lead on the T-level transition program project and the T-level implementation support project. So we work across all 3, and there's clear there's clear links across all 3, and we try and draw the best practice from each of them to share with our providers. So I'm going to speak to you today just very, very briefly about what to expect from your AoC support offer. Abby, if I can have the next slide, please. So the support opportunities, or the support project, the aims of that are to develop and deliver high quality T-level industry placements as part of your implementation plans, to foster peer networking opportunities for you to share and collaborate and work with other providers to try and work through challenges that you may arise, and to raise the profile and sharing good practice with our DFE colleagues on the current and future T-level providers and their practice, to help sometimes to shape policy and future policy as change may occur. In each of these, sorry, this there we go. So in each of these, though, providers will work with their industry placement advisor, who will be the key point of contact for them throughout the programme. Your industry placement advisor will keep in touch with you regularly through KIT meetings to support your package and to help you overcome any barriers faced in the implementation of your T-level industry placements. You will have 3 KIT meetings throughout the 2-year programme, and your advisors will be able to offer advice and guidance drawing on existing good practice. We at the AoC have worked with Wave 1, Wave 2, Wave 3. We're currently also working with Wave 4 and Wave 5 T-level providers, so we have a wealth of experience which we can share with you in order to help you with your T-level industry placements. In addition to the KIT meetings, which will be online, in addition to the KIT meetings, you'll be invited to attend a variety of different events, and we've already mentioned this today, the National Learning event, which will take place in the Midland Hotel in Manchester. So I do urge you to try and keep the date clear and to come along to that. And there'll be a series of webinars which will run to support you throughout the academic year. Other events which you'll be invited to will be peer networking opportunities, which will be set up and facilitated by the AoC to assure the sharing of best practice occurs. These network meetings will have a particular focus on bringing groups of providers with similar characteristics together. There's an expectation that the appropriate representative from each institution will attend these events. The agenda for these events will be informed by the needs of the providers at that specific time, which will come to some degree from the KIT meetings. If I can have the next slide, please, Abby. So finally, I'd like to just introduce very briefly to the industry placement team. So the Senior Relationship Manager is Pete Baker, and you'll hear from Peter just in a second or two. Also working on the team, we have Abby Hildebrandt and Jay Sembe and Alex Charlesworth, and you will get the opportunity to meet them in person at the National Learning event, but they're on the screen or they're on the call now, and throughout the support program, you will undoubtedly come across each of these, and they're all brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to pass back to Steph for the next part. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as I say, we can't emphasize enough, you have a team of really experienced professionals who have experience of delivering industry placements, work experience within large provider settings, who also come with experience of working with both the Wave 1 and Wave 2 providers and able to disseminate and share all that information. So they are here for you, they are here to support you and really want to support you. So please utilise them as much as possible. I'm now going to hand over to Peter Baker, who's the Senior Relationship Manager at the Association of Colleges for T-level industry placements, who's going to talk to you a little bit about what to expect within the 3 KIT meetings that are going to take place over the next 2 years. Over to you, Pete.
Thank you, Steph. Always on mute. Welcome, everybody. Lovely to see you all today. I'm Pete Baker, so I manage Abby, Jay, and Alex. So we're a fairly small team that are going to be working with you this year. We've got about 70 providers in Wave 3 that we're going to be supporting. And I think the first thing I want to say is that we have already sent out some emails, so look out for these. Kind of suggesting that we get a couple of dates together to schedule in your first industry placement support meeting. We call these KIT meetings, keep in touch meetings. I think one thing I want to say really is based on the work that we've done with Wave 2 and the Wave 1 providers over the last couple of years, I think the best way to look at the service that we provide is using us as a critical friend, really. We're not here to kind of judge or scrutinise everything that people are doing. What we're there to do is to try and identify where any trip points or bottlenecks might be occurring, and then do what we can to offer some advice and guidance based on the work that we've done really successfully with Wave 1 and Wave 2 over the last couple of years. And I think Steph's also alluded to the fact that we're in a fairly unique position, I think, in the country at the AoC in terms of being at the coalface. So don't feel that you have to deal with some of these issues on your own, because it's likely that somebody's already been there and got the t-shirt, because we would have likely come across similar kind of circumstances with other providers. And I know from the feedback that we've had from Wave 1 and Wave 2 providers that we've really managed to add some value to their delivery plans and operational plans based on those kinds of interactions. So yeah, you're going to get a dedicated advisor. For Wave 3s, we're starting a new system this year, so we're going to buddy up. So you'll get to meet at least 2 of us on each of your calls, just in case somebody happens to be off sick, and there's somebody else will be there that you'll be able to talk to if you're in any kind of an emergency. The conversations are going to be fairly structured. Do you want to bring up the next slide for me, Ab? Thanks. The conversations are going to be structured. What we've worked out really over the last couple of years is there's some real key elements, key components to building high quality industry placements. And that's around like your quality assurance approaches, your whole organizational approach, your student readiness, employer engagement and marketing strategies. And those are the things that we're going to tend to focus on when we're having our meetings with you. However, this is not a prescriptive process. This is about a needs-led provision. So I think we've got enough skills within the team to be able to respond to any challenges that you may be facing. And if we don't have the expertise to deal with that, which sometimes is the case, we're able to then defer or refer this through to somebody else. So for example, policy questions that we may not be in a position to respond to at the time, we'd be able to link in with DFE, for example, and bring to bear some of these responses in probably quite a quick way. So we're actually quite a useful conduit for you in some respects to link into some of these other organisations. I'm a big kind of person for reflective practice. We do that constantly within the team, and it's something we'll also bring to bear within the kind of conversations and discussions we have about your industry placements as well. And I think what we're looking to do, as this is all still fairly new, what we're looking to achieve, I think, a few years down the line is having a standard approach, trying to standardise what we're doing to make it a little bit more efficient. So we've really discovered quite a lot of really interesting strategies and techniques that providers are doing and have done. And a part of our job is to feed that back to the DFE policy team who are on the call today, because it isn't just about the good news stories, although they're really brilliant to hear and what's working well. I think what we're really interested in is what the challenges are. And you've heard people allude to kind of peer and networking events. And I think what's really key to note here is that we've run a number of events. We've just come through a 2-year period of COVID, which has been really challenging for a lot of providers, and especially in the digital sector as well. An example of the peer networking events that you will have an opportunity to be invited to are, we did some roundtables with the DFE policy team to look at what the challenges were that you were facing on the ground. And I can say that the team here at the AoC have been instrumental in advocating your case to DFE policy team. And what we've seen as a result of that are the flexibilities that came out. So it was a real team effort. I think the DFE policy team, ourselves, and obviously you at the coalface. So it's really important that we understand what your challenges are in particular, because that's where we want to try and add value. Again, if what you're doing is working really well, there's absolutely no point in us trying to fix something that isn't broken. What we want to be doing is looking at where your challenges might lie and then trying to help you by adding some value in, what other people may have done, other strategies and approaches other providers may have used, which will hopefully help you. And the last point on the slide here is about, everything that we pick up from you does go forward into tailoring and shaping future interactions with providers. So certainly our Wave 4 and Wave 5 providers as they come on board into delivery, and also policy as well. So it is really, really key that we have these conversations. Next slide, please, Abby. Next couple of slides, I just want to draw your attention to something that hopefully most of you have seen, but if you haven't, I just want to make you aware of some resources that are available for you. We have spoken to a couple of Wave 2s, for example, Wave 2 providers that hadn't really taken the time to look at the guidance resources or sort of the framework for delivery. Next slide, please, Abby. So first of all, here's a link. You'll get a copy of these slides as well. So all the links are functional because I've checked them all. But if you haven't seen this yet, I highly recommend that you take the time to look at the industry placement delivery guidance. It's a really good piece of guidance. It's really thorough and it's quite long, but you can dip in and out of it. And this is everything you're going to need to do really from, you know, the very inception right the way through to what you need to be doing towards the end. So there'll be some really good guidance in there and tips and advice on what you need to be considering when you're putting together your strategic plans. And also, which was very, very common for both my Wave 1 and Wave 2 providers, was looking at setting industry placement objectives. What we've got on this link, if you scroll right down to the bottom of the pages, you'll come across all the annexes there. And then we've got pretty much every route that you can cover with some examples of what you might be considering when you're writing your industry placement objectives. So that's what I wanted to say there. I wanted to make sure that you've seen that link. And if there's any questions when you've reviewed this, please hold them, or either contact us on the email addresses on the slide, a couple of slides before, or give us a call if you've got any questions. But failing that, any questions that you can hold on to, we can deal with when we have your first kit meeting. Thank you. Next slide, please, Ab. This I highly recommend you have a look at. You know, I was on a call today with not a provider, but another stakeholder that says that this is really useful because they're able to find stuff through our Padlet that they're struggling to find on the government website. What we've produced here is this is your Padlet. This is what we've developed for you as providers over the last couple of years. So it's like a one-stop shop, if you like, of support, advice and guidance. And we're going to continually add to this. The reason I like this is because we've got particular tabs set up here for you. So they're fairly self-explanatory. There'll be one with all the government guidance on, all to do with the delivery guidance and flexibilities as they emerge. So this is updated in real time for us. But then we've got information around some previous events. If you've missed out on events, you'll be able to access some recordings for those events on here that we've done in the past that may be of interest to you and the team. There's employer resources on there. And Sam was talking about some of the other work that the DfE have been sponsoring, like the Employer Support Programme, which is dedicated to provide advice and guidance for employers within the sector. And it's a really brilliant tool for you as providers to be able to access and use that, actually adding value to some of the employer conversations that your teams might be having as well, because some employers are still not aware of T levels. Others are a little bit more aware, but there are sets of resources and there's lots of work done here. Some really good stuff on that ESP website as well in terms of myth busting, which I highly recommend you have a look at. I have no doubt that when we start our meetings with you all and have these conversations that, you know, the under 18 kind of challenge is going to come up, certainly depending on, you know, the sectors you might be working in. For example, engineering or science, there might be some issues around age appropriateness of getting students in. So you're going to be dealing with some of these objections this year, I promise you. But there's some really brilliant resources in there around myth busting and things that we can do to shape the conversations that we're having with employers to bring them on. We've got a couple of other tabs in there. I'm not going to go through them all. I'd like you to have a look at them yourselves. But, you know, there's some stuff, we're developing stuff there around the objection handling as well, which is specifically designed and tailored for industry placements, as well as some other really useful kind of tools and tips that are going on there. The latest sets of guidance resources that have been produced that the DfE have commissioned are sitting in there as well. So the latest tranche of guidance resources that have come out have been around digital health and science. So they're sitting in there at the moment, and highly recommend you have a look at those too. So there's a link to Padlet up in red there when you get this slide deck. We'll be advocating you look at Padlet during our kit meetings as well. Next slide, please, Abby. So this is a link here which is going to take you into the guidance resources. This year, the team and I are going to be developing the year 3 sets of guidance resources around construction, engineering, and administration and management. So we're just in the throes of putting some outlines together there, and we're going to be coming out to speak with some of you soon and invite you into one of these peer networking events, because what we'd like to do is to get your input on what you think is going to be useful. So any of you delivering engineering, you'll be expecting a call from me fairly soon to try and arrange a short get together with some other providers so we can have a look at what you want, what is going to be useful for you. Because I don't want this to be a prescriptive process. I want it to be something where you have an input and it's a do with process rather than a do to process. So we really do value everybody's kind of input and giving people the opportunity to have your say in what's going to work for you. If you haven't seen it already, the government website supporting industry placements and T-levels has changed recently. And we've been doing quite a lot of work with Zendesk around this as well. What you need to be looking for is T-level support for schools and colleges, because that's the main heading now for all of the resources that we want to be utilising. So there's a link there for you to go onto that site. And again, highly recommend taking a bit of time. If it's not you, it might be one of your colleagues that is heavily involved in that. So if this link isn't relevant for your area of responsibility, please make sure that you share these links with your colleagues, because they will find these sites invaluable. So there you can see a couple of examples of what we've got. We've got the industry placement delivery guidance, and temporary flexibilities are sitting in there as well. But there's a wealth of information in there, and I highly recommend you see that. Next slide, please, Abby. In addition to the email addresses you have for all of us, there's a generic email address here. We just thought we'd throw this in. So you've got a contact email address for us. If you've got any other questions that are not going to be delivered today, we're going to have a short Q&A session in a moment, see if there's any questions from anybody. But if there's no questions there today and something comes up in a few days' time, please feel free to contact us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Next slide, Ab. I just want to finish really with some key dates for your calendar. And one more, Abby. Thank you. You've probably heard us talking, you may not have heard of us talking about the National Learning Event on the 9th of November. Steph was mentioning it at the beginning, Steve was mentioning it as well. We've got 170 providers from Wave 1 and Wave 2 and Wave 3 that we're inviting to this event. It's going to be run like a conference. There's a registration link there for you, which will take you to the AoC website, because our events team is helping to coordinate this. You'll be able to follow that link, register your interest for attending, and then we will send through nearer the time everything that you need in terms of the agenda. We've got some amazing speakers on the day. We've got construction companies speaking. We've got a number of providers talking about marketing, digital marketing, as well as workshops and other speakers that I think you'll find of interest. But all the details and information you'll need will be sitting there on that link, so you can have a look at how good the day will be. And if you haven't already done so, can I please urge you now or after today's session to register for this event, please? And then kind of finally, my final point with you today is our kit meetings. As I say, we've got 70 providers in our Wave 3 cohort this year. Looking at the figures this morning, we've probably conducted held about 8 kit meetings so far, and we've got another 15 booked. And it may be that you missed the email that came from myself and my team asking for us to look at some convenient dates where we could meet. We're going to be sending out another round of emails, probably on Monday. So do look out for those from us. And if you want to contact us beforehand, please feel free to do so. If you want to contact me or the team about setting a date, then we can do that. And we'll, as I say, we'll have an allocated advisor plus their buddy. So there will always be somebody that knows about you as a provider sitting here in the AoC. I think the very last thing I'm going to say on this is that the National Learning Event, really the best people to be attending to, if you're looking at who is the best person to attend, it's really your delivery leads, people that are there at the coalface that will get the most out of the day. because we're going to be running some workshops to be looking at some strategies. The whole theme of the day at the National Learning Event is about upscaling and future-proofing and what we can do to meet the targets that we need to reach, because you know the targets for industry placements are growing exponentially every year, and I think when we think about this strategy long term, there's some things that we need to take into account. So I'm hoping this day is going to be of immense value to people. Next slide, please, Ab.
Thank you. I think that's back over to me.
Back over to you, Steph. Thank you.
And I'm going to invite Sam, Tabitha and Pete just to stay on the call now. And I can see we don't have any questions that's come into us at the moment. So hopefully that means that we've done a really comprehensive job of answering everyone's questions today. Please feel free to place any into the chat. I really want to highlight in the chat at the moment is the direct link to that National Learning Event for your strategic lead. We have one, possibly 2 places maximum for some providers to send, so please sign up early and click on that link to sign up. Next slide, please, Abby. So, like magic, I am hoping a poll should appear on the screen for you. This poll helps us to shape your provider journey and the support that you will get, so it's really, really crucial. And I do ask that all participants on the call say it should take no more than 1 minute to complete, but it's really important that we do get that feedback so that you get the very best experience. So Abby, if possible, please can we load the poll? Thank you. And whilst participants are completing that poll, I'm going to ask Abby to go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, I've just got one question. So I'm just going to just quickly ask Tabitha. Tabitha, I can see we've had a question come in regarding the incentive payment for employers. I don't believe at the moment we're able to make any announcements on that, and it has come to an end, the previous incentive employer payment. So I don't say you want to add or just explain that a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. So the employer incentive, which was previously available last year, as Vicky correctly says, that was a short-term fund which was introduced to support employers to deliver placements during COVID-19. It came to an end at the end of July of this year, and we're currently exploring what sort of future options there are for financial support for employers. But at the moment, no, nothing further to update on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question also. And on that, once the poll has been completed, I'm going to thank our fantastic panel. So Sam, Tabitha, Pete, Steve, for all your input today, and thank you for joining us. And thank you. We appreciate how busy you are on this Thursday afternoon, but hopefully you found this really, really beneficial. Please reach out. We are here for you. If anyone wants to ask a private question that they don't feel comfortable asking in the main chat, please stay on the call, as we will stay on the call for a short period to take your questions. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you once again for joining us. Goodbye.